Hi, fellow birdies. Welcome to another edition of Mr. Charles's Writing Mukbang. Today I'll be going with a follow-up of as I announced, I'm writing a new novella, a romance one. And I want to bring you guys up to speed on the progress and some of the interesting things I've found while writing it and challenges I face. First, I'm gonna have a bite of this delicious stew. Now, this is called chicken Oriental, and unfortunately, we don't know which culture it comes from. Honestly, we gotta have a cookbook from like the late 19th, early 20th century, late 20th, early 21st century. Not bad. I think it was better last week though. We had a different variety of vegetables. Oh, I want to let you guys know that Crystal, Mrs. Songbird, and I have decided to change my diet a bit, as I announced in her eating show on Monday. I'll be going to a calorie-based diet rather than a type of food-based diet. As while it hasn't been a complete failure, like I haven't been gaining weight, I haven't been losing weight either. I would like to lose some. Simply put, I'm overweight, and I want to fix that. Now, as I said last time, this week, that by the time you watched the previous video, I'd finished the outline. So on the day that you saw that video, I began writing the rough draft. Now, as I discussed in previous videos, I have a certain issue where I have a tendency to try to edit too much when I'm writing. So what I do to compensate for that is, in my rough drafts, I deliberately try to avoid any edits. If there's some changes I need to make to a scene that I've already written, what I do is I'll put like a note to myself, like, for example, put this in such and so's point of view. Now, one of the interesting things about writing is oftentimes you're going to find that your idea of what the story is will change as you're writing it. And this story was no exception. Now, case in point, the first scene of the story was originally the main character, I'll call her name's Becca, receiving a call from her brother. And she's expecting it to be about money because he's always calling about money. He's got a gambling problem. They both know it. And for perhaps the 10th time, it's don't do this again. This is the last time. Trust me when I say I know what that's like. Although obviously not with gambling. Well, yeah, obviously, but not with gambling. Except that the tone of the scene changes when she finds out it's not just some petty debts he has to pay off. He owes $50,000, and she's barely. She's struggling to handle paying for the previous stuff he's in. And not only is he in debt, he's in debt to a loan shark, and if he doesn't pay off, he'll get hurt at best, killed at worst. Now, she is, in spite of, saying, in spite of saying this is the last time, every time, she's still out to bat for her little brother. Or older brother, actually. I haven't decided which one it is. Kind of leaning towards little brother, she being the, little sister, but I could go either way on that. But the scene worked, I feel. However, when I was writing tonight, I started writing a scene where she comes home and he's there. And I realized that not having seen him physically in so many years, like the only interaction being him calling to basically beg her for money. And it's looking like it's going to be a pretty powerful scene. But I realized that scene probably works best as the first scene, where he's so desperate, he comes into her for money, and for shelter, as he has nowhere else to turn to. And again, he's in danger. Now, one of the things I'm doing my best to work on with this story is making sure the characterization of all the important characters. One character I didn't think of as too important in the original draft, sure, he makes an appearance throughout the first scene and he's a motivation, but then I started writing and it's like, yeah, he's a main character. The brother character, James. Because it's starting to feel like this story is going to, in addition to being about her trying to protect him, it's also about reconciliation as well as the romance. Other things I learned while writing is I was originally kind of thinking it was going to be like the kind of book where you have scenes from two different characters, like how my second book in my Mage Trial series is going to be, where there's two different characters who each have viewpoint roles. But frankly, the story is feeling better if I take away the main romance lead's point of view and just stick to Becca. Now, is Becca herself a good character? I think so. The way I'm characterizing her is she's a hardworking woman, pretty smart, but she has one flaw that really keeps hurting her. She just can't bring herself to let things go. She'll talk a good game about it, but she can't bring herself to let things go. Her brother, she can't bring herself to let go. And perhaps it would have been smarter to simply, reach out to the police and go on the run from this loan shark. But she can't bring herself to let it go, and so she focuses on one method of fixing it: paying off the debt by committing industrial espionage. Another thing I need to look at and keep in mind when I'm writing her is, how should I put this? And this is not with her, just with her, with every character, is characters are neither complete idiots nor are they geniuses, unless you really try to write them as one or the other. And that may be obviously, blatantly obvious. But there's, and what I mean, here's where I'm going with that. If a character fails to see something, it's not because they ignored it completely. It's that they were focusing on something else. Like, take the red wire, blue wire dilemma. For the obvious bomb. Like, don't cut the red wire, don't cut the blue wire. They're going to use their knowledge, the best of their abilities, to try to solve that puzzle. What might trip them up is if they didn't notice that there's a second bomb behind them. In which case, of course, yeah, boom. I mean, sometimes people will dismiss or ignore things, but generally it's more because we're just thinking of something else rather than we're not thinking of. We didn't decide not to do something. We just forgot to do something, or forgot to keep that in mind. And here's why that's important. In one of the scenes I was writing, I think it was maybe last night, maybe a bit earlier today, Becca, I think it was last night, Becca is leafing through the office of the person she'll be working with, trying to find data as subtly as possible. And fortunately, I have her start, getting a little bit too intelligent. Like, she knows things that wouldn't necessarily fit her characterization. So I make a note to, correct that in the next draft. Like, she probably doesn't know much about insider trading. So, as you see that there's a deal that's going down, for a company, she'll know that's important, but she won't necessarily know it's important in the sense of insider trading or anything like that. Well, it's technically not insider. Yeah, it is, because she is an insider for the company at that time. Now, with every romance, you need a powerful main character, but you also need a powerful romantic lead. It can't just be, some average Joe who has nothing of importance. I mean, not in the sense of, you don't want them to be average. You want them to have highs and lows. And I'm trying to find what's it. Basically, you want to avoid them being bland. That's an important thing to avoid. Yeah, I'm doing my best with the main romance. So, I think I've done a pretty good job. Simply put, he is lazy, but at the same time, he's driven. He's like, he basically blows her off on helping her, even though he's supposed to be training her. He literally just says, "Go to the handbook, read it twice every time you come with a problem. If you still can't find an answer, then you can talk to me." But then, when she does that, he's lets her know, just so you know, that doesn't mean you have to stay completely silent. he's a man of contradictions, and also he is incredibly motivated, to be the main obstacle in her path. Like, it isn't a job to him. Like, he is essentially one of the co-founders of the company. He's just not the CEO. And as I believe I mentioned in the previous video, this company is his baby. And just like any other proud parent, he is determined to not let anything hurt it. Now, a moment. His problem is his flaw is that he has a tendency to ignore things that he feels don't matter. Like, he'll deliberately, ignore something that he feels is unimportant. Which, for example, might lead to, her making a mistake because he didn't bother to answer a simple question or let her ask a simple question. And in more story terms, it's what causes him to not realize that, hey, she might be a spy, because he's kind of dismissed in that anything other than her being basically the grunt to handle the stuff that he's handing off to her while he focuses on the real stuff. Which means that although he's extremely careful in his methods to prevent infiltration of the company, I'm about to drink down the rest of it. He fails to realize that he's working with the very person who's trying to spy on the company. I like him so far, but I feel like I need to have some more, written with him to develop him further. I know his basic characterization. I know, why he's, both the obstacle and the love interest. But there's a reason why some people prefer to write by the seat of their pants. I like to do that in a more structured sense. I do an outline of the general gist of the story before I start writing by the seat of my pants. And I've done it pretty well so far. Like, although I've made changes and alterations, nothing has actually changed the outline as a whole. Just the details of it. Now, one moment. I definitely liked it, but I think the one last week was better because it had a more. I'm trying to think of a good comparison. It made me think of, I was going to a Chinese restaurant, or perhaps Thai maybe. This one was good, but it felt more Western. Yeah. Now, the number one thing to keep in mind when you're writing a book is you're often going to find yourself finding questions that you need to answer and changes that need to be made. Like, one question I didn't really think about is, until I started writing, is why don't they just bug out? Like, why don't they leave? And it took me only a little bit of time to find the answer. Spoiler warning, she feels that if they do so, they'll be on the run for the rest of their lives. Whereas this is the chance to solve it. Now, whether she's right or wrong, that's what the rest of the story's for. But for now, I'm going to bid you folks a fond farewell. Farewell, fellow birdies. Have a great evening. Or afternoon. Have a great afternoon.